Right, recording is started. And that recording will be available for the future record. So again, I say welcome very much to the Perry Barr Ward Forum. The first time we've had a ward forum on Zoom. We've had a number of community meetings on various online platforms. It's good to see you all here tonight, and we look forward to hearing everybody's views. The agenda that was previously circulated, I've rejigged slightly to put ward plan priorities above the Perry Barr master plan, but we'll take the COVID-19 update first of all, because we know the health people are working very, very hard at the moment to cope with the pandemic, and we won't keep Amira longer than we need to. Amira, it's good to see you here. I'll hand over to you. If you want to share anything on screen, I think you should be able to do so. I think we'll be interested to see what you have to say.
Thank you so much, Councillor Hunt, Councillor Jan. Lovely to be here. I actually grew up in Perry Barr when I was a youngster, and it was like a real privilege to be here talking at a ward forum. A few years later, I won't reveal my exact age, given it's being recorded. So thank you all for being here and for your time today. I'm going to give you a really quick update on COVID-19, so that you've got plenty of time for questions, which I'll do my absolute best to answer. Apologies, I'm going to be looking at my screen, which is here, so you're probably not going to see my face directly. Just in terms of kind of a rough update as to where we are in terms of COVID-19 rates in Birmingham. So we are seeing a consistent decline in rates, which is very positive news. Of course, we've been in lockdown since the early new year, and this is having an impact. So when you look at our rates for COVID-19 over 7 days, right at the end of January up until the first week of February, our rate of COVID-19 was just over 300 per 100,000 of the population. According to our most recent data, this is from the 6th of Feb to 12th of February, that's now come down to 215,000 cases per 100,000. So again, it's really positive that we've seen this decline. Across the whole of England, our rates are 136 per 100,000. So Birmingham is higher than what we're seeing nationally. And actually, the rate of West Midlands region is the highest out of all the country at the moment. So when you look at where we rank in terms of the figures in England, we're now the 16th highest compared to other upper tier local authorities. And we've been seeing this issue kind of in terms of around the spread and where it's happening. And this is mainly through household mixing and social interaction. So just to kind of, just to kind of reiterate, at the moment there should be absolutely no household mixing between different houses, unless you're in a support bubble or you've got a childcare bubble. But for most people, that won't really apply. So this is where the spread's happening, and why we're trying to push out as many messages as possible about asking people to stay at home. And when you look at other parts of the West Midlands, so only really Sandwell and Walsall that have higher rates than us. Most of the other areas in the West Midlands have a lower rate than Birmingham. And also Birmingham is part of what we call kind of the autistic authorities. In that group, it's Manchester, Liverpool, Newcastle upon Tyne, Sheffield, and Nottingham and Bristol. And again, in that group of local authorities, only Nottingham that is got a slightly higher rate than us at the moment. When you look at Perry Barr as a ward on its own, we've got 69 wards in Birmingham. And in terms of the number of cases, there's been in terms of ranking, where the first rank has the highest number of cases, 9th rank has the lowest number of cases. Perry Barr's is at number 6 out of 69. So, and at the moment, we've got 60 reported cases in this. And also,
Mary, you broke up there. What number are we in that ranking?
Sorry, Councillor Hunt. So just to repeat, the first is the highest rank and 69th is the lowest, and Perry Barr is actually 6th out of the 69 wards, towards the higher end. But you know, of course, you know, wards are at a small population level as well. So and of course, some of our wards are different sizes. That's when you actually look at the rate as well, so that adjusts the size of the population in a particular ward. So when you look at Birmingham as a whole, we have roughly kind of 2 cases of COVID per 1,000 of the population. So but when you look at the data of Perry Barr, it's higher than that, 2.0 average, 2.91. So to give you a bit of a sense of scale there, I guess. And also we're now collecting data at ward level around how many COVID-19 champions we've got. So I'll do a bit of a screen share shortly to let people know if they don't know about it, how they can actually get involved. So yeah, we've now got 10 COVID-19 champions, which is really positive. And essentially this is a call to action that we've put out to all our communities and residents, asking people if you feel able to play a more visible role in terms of passing on the correct messages around COVID-19, really encouraging messages around washing hands, wearing face masks, and also you know, keeping a distance. So when you're out, social distances, if you're in the shop or travelling to work or what have you, and about staying at home. So I'll share some of that information very shortly. So that's the main kind of update about the data. I did want to cover a few other points, if I may, Councillor Hunt and Councillor Dan, just around the vaccination, especially. So bring up my notes. Just so people are aware, the actual vaccination programme is being managed by the NHS. So our local clinical commissioning group, NHS Birmingham Solihull, they're managing all the vaccination processes that are happening in the city at the moment. Just to really reiterate, if anybody is being asked to come forward for vaccination, so booking an appointment with your GP or at a vaccination centre, we're encouraging everybody who can be vaccinated and who is called for vaccination, please do that. Even though the vaccinations that we have been developed quite quickly, no process, no step has been missed. It's essentially a worldwide collaboration effort that's allowed many vaccines to be tested and improved so quickly. I remember our Director of Public Health, Justin, talking about kind of explaining why it's happened so quickly and why it's okay. So if you were imagining driving from one end of Birmingham, you know, from the south right to the north, and you've got a series of traffic lights. If they were all red, it would take you quite a long time to get from A to B. But actually, if all those lights were green and you had a straight run through to get from A to B, you'd get there a lot faster. And that's exactly what's happened with the vaccination process. So, you know, people have been collaborating rather than competing, and also rather than waiting months for a certain meeting or a committee to take place and you know, come to that to get vaccination before, things have worked the other way, in that, you know, meetings are arranged around when scientists are ready to kind of have the conversation. So, you know, I know there is some concern in our population about the vaccine, but absolutely, you know, our public health team, our Director of Public Health, absolutely wouldn't be encouraging people to take it if we didn't think it was safe. So I think the latest statistics on the vaccination now across the UK, we've seen under 16 million first doses given as of the 16th of February, and just over 500,000 second doses given as well. The vaccination programme is actually going well. However, not everybody is entitled to the vaccination at this moment in time. And we are working through a prioritisation process. So right at the beginning, when vaccines were first being approved, the people that were getting them were those residents in a care home, and also those who were looking after them. So, and then there were also, and then it was the next in line was around those who were 80 years and over, and also frontline health and social care workers. Then it's been offered to 75 years and over, and then those who were 70 years and over, or clinically extremely vulnerable. We're currently around priority group 4 at the moment, and we've still got 5 more priority groups to go. So the progress is being made, and just to reiterate the message, if you're able to have a vaccination, you're being called to, we encourage everybody to do that, please. I'm just going to screen share, if I may, Councillor Hunt, just to show the COVID-19 vaccine. Oh, it says the host stable participant screen sharing. I wondered if you'd be able to switch that on, please.
Okay. Let me just try advanced sharing. I've enabled it for as freely as possible. So try now.
There we go. Brilliant. Thank you. So this is the actual website. I'll pop that in the chat actually for everyone to see. So we've got that. But this essentially, if you were to go onto this website, it gives you all the information about becoming a COVID-19 champion, why we're asking for it to happen, what was actually involved in it. And we've now got over 600 COVID-19 champions across the city. And you know, we're always looking to increase that number because we find it really works. It really helps to have someone, a member of the community that people know who's able to push some really important messages out for us. I'll stop sharing that. And I'll just check my notes quickly. And I think that's all I really wanted to kind of update everybody on. It's still, you know, even though we're in lockdown and the vaccination program is going well, it's still really important to keep, you know, washing hands, maintaining distance, and, you know, wearing face coverings where needed. So especially in a closed environment like a shop or on a bus or a train, and you're in a situation where you're with people you wouldn't normally be with. That is still just as important as it was right at the beginning of lockdown. It was nearly a year ago now. But if I pause there, Councillor Hunt, and I'm very happy to take any questions if anybody has any.
Thank you. John Moore is the first to indicate.
Yes, thank you, Councillor. Amira, just one quickie. You say that Perry Barr ward is 6th out of 69. Is there any particular reason why are some wards so much higher than the other in the rates? Have you any reason for that?
It depends on quite a lot of things, John. One of them is around the demographics. Generally, we know that we're seeing higher rates of COVID-19 in some ethnic groups. So especially our Black African Caribbean population and some people of South Asian descent as well. So that it tends to be higher. It also depends on kind of how people are living in their houses. You know, where you have multi-generational houses as well. So especially young children living with, you know, more elderly grandparents. You know, even though children are, you know, they're not free from COVID, and you know, so we have had some very rare instances of children being severely impacted by COVID-19, but generally they're pretty well with it, but they're able to pass it on. And also, you know, it also depends on the kind of business, the kind of work, employment that is happening in those areas as well. So especially there's a lot of kind of, you know, where we're operating restaurants, takeaways, and so forth, or even with taxi drivers, we know there's higher risk in those areas. So there isn't a clear cut reason, but generally it's linked to kind of various factors that I've just described. I hope that helps a bit, George.
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay. Any more questions? Just one question, Amira. I understood our vaccination rates are a little bit below the rest of the country in Birmingham. Is that right? And do we need to do our best to encourage people to take take the vaccine?
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, I think all parts of the country where I guess the official phrase is vaccine hesitancy, but you know, in simple words, people that are a bit unsure about the vaccine. And you know, we're doing a series of forums that the NHS has arranged together with Councillor Hamilton, who is our cabinet member for health and wellbeing for the City Council, and Justin Barney, our DPH. They're actually doing the kind of going to all different parts of the city and talking about the importance of the vaccine. And we're asking everybody who is able to spread that message. You know, the vaccine is safe. You know, very few side effects have been reported with it. It's absolutely normal to feel a little bit unwell after any vaccination. It just shows that your immune system's working, that your body's detected something that, you know, shouldn't really be there, and it's fighting it off. So, and I think, you know, unfortunately, there are myths circulating about, you know, what's in the vaccine and so forth. I don't want to talk about them, well, you know, just in case it propagates it any further, specific ones. But you know, it's just really unfortunate that some of these myths are kind of you know, getting around and people are listening to them. But we're taking every opportunity to challenge those and say, well, the risk from the vaccine is far less than the risk of actually getting COVID. You know, especially if you're in a higher risk group. And I completely understand, you know, it does feel quite different, the vaccine, in terms of it's been, you know, they've been produced, they've been tested really quickly. But as I've explained, it's been a worldwide collaboration, so nothing has been missed out, and it's all been done properly. It's just because everyone's worked together rather than worked against each other that we're actually in this very fortunate position. And we know some countries around the world have been able to secure hardly any doses of the vaccines. So it puts us really in a really fortunate position to be able to access that. And so yeah, that's quite a long answer to your point, Councillor Hunt. But yes, so just try to really kind of drill back home the message. Please get get vaccinated.
Astonishing piece of science, isn't it? Developing this vaccine. It's amazing so fast. When they could never get a vaccine for the common cold, which is a similar virus, I think. They've got one for this. So it's a one piece of real hope to emerge from the last year.
Absolutely. And actually, you know, another reason why it's so important is, you know, one of the reasons we're in lockdown is because we're trying to prevent our most vulnerable members of the population from getting COVID and getting either extremely sick with it or even worse, dying from it. And that's what we're vaccinating for at the moment. We're trying to prevent death, really. So the people that are being asked to come forward, it's because they're at a higher risk of dying or being hospitalised from COVID-19. This is how we're going to get out of lockdown, is by knowing that a significant proportion of the population are actually, those who need to be protected are protected.
Has everybody here been able to get their vaccine who's been offered one? You can use your reaction button and put a thumb up or a heart or something if you want to. Hey, that's it. Practice your reaction buttons.
I've got quite a long wait for mine.
It's Karen here. I'm too young.
I'll catch up with you.
I know, I was saying that I've got a bit of a wait for mine as well, but yeah. But that's wonderful. That's really, you know, we've got some COVID-19 champions in the making there, I think, already, Councillor Hunt. So,
one of the things sorry to cut across you, John, but we're quite of a similar demographic. We've had every inoculation going like you can't believe: diphtheria, typhoid, TB. So we are in the generation where we actually believe in this stuff. So It's getting the message to others.
In my day, you just had to lump the measles, which actually we didn't realise how dangerous it was. You know, when you had to go for your measles and your mumps, you didn't realise how dangerous it was.
No, and smallpox.
I'm not that old
as
either.
well.
And actually, our population coverage rates for measles, mumps, and rubella they're not as high as they should be. And actually, we are now seeing cases of measles and mumps, and it's a real shock to the system actually, because I think, as you say, people have not seen measles and mumps for such a long time, and with the unfortunate publication of a piece of research that was later thrown out with the link of autism and the vaccine. So yeah, it's a real shame. So but really glad to see that people have been offered it, have taken it. So that's wonderful.
Any more questions for Hamira?
I'll just say thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Yeah, I jumped at the chance to come to the Perry Barr Ward Forum, given my roots on Aston Lane. So
we don't actually cover Aston Lane though. So
not anymore. Okay, but you know what? The ward boundaries have changed.
There was a proposal once to put half of Aston Lane into Perry Barr Ward, but it didn't come to anything. It would have been quite complicated. So that area calls itself Perry Barr, but it's neither in the Perry Barr Ward nor the Perry Barr constituency now. It's a strange geography.
Do you know what? I've learned something new today.
I think it may be in Becky's master plan when we come to that. So, Perry Barr.
Mira, thank you very much for attending.
Boundaries. Yes, she says it is. So there you are. Was there something else you had to mention, Hamira, about? Was it about green spaces or something?
Could really quickly mention something about green spaces. Thank you. I've received a really warm welcome from Councillor Chan at an overview and scrutiny committee for the Commonwealth Games. I think it was last week, Councillor Chan, the week before. The weeks are getting mixed up in my head. I'm a public health consultant, and my day job before COVID was actually embedding the value of green spaces across our city, so both within the council and actually beyond into our communities. I won't go through the entire presentation that I gave to Councillor Jan. I haven't got time for that, but we are on a journey in the council to really change the way in which council departments, directorates think about green spaces. Often it's just the park service that thinks about our local green spaces or parks. We're trying to get an employment team, we're trying to get our children's team, education, we're trying to get housing colleagues to understand how important all these green spaces are. And we're really also keen to work with residents. I think I might recognise Valerie from being a member of the Birmingham Open Spaces Forum, for I think Friends of Perry Hall Park. Is that right, Valerie?
There's several parks activists here, Hamira, so you've got a few activists here. I'll be very interested in what you have to say.
So we're actually launching a Green Champions programme, and this is all about helping to connect residents to officers in the council in terms of helping you to get more things done for green spaces. And it's also to help those officers who wouldn't normally think about bringing green spaces into their work, to think about it more. You know, we've got some champions in the park service, but there's no point in them just being there. They need to be all across the council. So I wonder what the best way might be. If I just do a quick screen share again. There is, just find it. Sorry, I'm so used to Teams working at Birmingham City Council that
it's very similar.
Yeah, bear with me. There we go. Hopefully you can see this. So I'll make it a bit bigger. It's just a flyer, and we can get this circulated perhaps via either Councillor Hunt or Councillor Jan. But essentially, this flyer explains what the Green Champions programme is and how you can actually get involved in it. And this is the person to contact. If I just copy and paste Dan's email address. But essentially, it explains to you kind of, who's it for, what's it for, how will we do it. It will essentially be online, and you'll be working with a whole group of people that you've probably never met before. And the idea is to kind of problem solve around green spaces and to come up with ideas, solutions, and to, more importantly, forge relationships. so that you can kind of continue work on green spaces. If I just pop that into the chat, and then yeah, very happy to take any questions on that if anybody has any.
It doesn't come up in chat yet.
Sorry, I'm just struggling to get back to stop share. There we go.
Councillor Hunt, is it okay if I have speak?
Yeah.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, brilliant. My question to Hamira is, can you pass, hopefully, contact details on to everyone, as some people might not have a burning question at the moment, or something they'd like to discuss with you, and they may want to discuss that on an individual basis.
Of course.
So would you be able to pass on your contact details to everyone in this meeting today?
Yeah.
And thank you so much for attending as well.
Not at all. It's been an absolute pleasure. And yeah, if you can help other people get vaccinated too, we will love you forever. So yeah, thank you. And thank you so much for the warm welcome as well. And yeah, I'm going to have to reprocess that. I didn't actually live in Perry Barr growing up. So.
Address-wise, you did, but it's very confusing.
We did, yeah, but not according to the...
It wasn't the Perry Barr constituency until about 2005, I think, that part of Aston. So it's very confusing.
Yeah.
I think Becky's bringing it back into Perry Barr now.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Okay,
Let you go. If you want to find out about our plans, you can hang on.
No, I was brought up in Perry Barr as well, so yeah, know the neck of the woods quite well. But is it possible also to have you in the next ward forum meeting and for any updates and any possible changes as the world that we're living in? There's going to be probably loads of changes from the conversation that we had.
Yeah, absolutely, very happy to do that. I'll liaise with Kay. I think Kay Thomas, looks after you at the ward forum normally. I'll drop her a note and ask her to send me over the details for the next ward forum. No problem at all.
Brilliant. Thank you.
So, yeah,
Thank you very much for giving us your time. As I said, you must be really busy at the moment, and we all appreciate what the our health workers are doing during this pandemic.
Thank you very much. It's really nice to be appreciated. Yeah, thank you for those kind words. Have a good evening, everyone, and take care. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Right, our next item we've listed as ward priorities, and the background to this is that we're required to produce for the council a ward plan, which sets out our priorities for the ward. Now, we have got the Freebies neighbourhood plan, which is a very detailed document, which some of you will be familiar with. It's a very detailed document. It sets out our views, particularly on planning issues for the area, and some ideas about development of the area as well. And it's going to be a very important document for our community if we can successfully get it through referendum over this year or next, hopefully this year. It doesn't quite do as a ward plan, however, for two reasons. One is that it doesn't quite cover everybody who's in the Perry Barr ward. The neighbourhoods to the south of the River Thames, where a small number of people live, are not included. Secondly, it doesn't deal with day-to-day issues, and we may feel there are day-to-day issues that we want to address as a priority as well. So we've prepared a short list of about 10 headings of items that could be potential priorities, and we want to get those down to 5. I should say that for us as councillors, everything on that list is a priority in a sense. You know, they're all things that we have to deal with, and we will deal with on behalf of residents as they come up. But we need, as a ward, to indicate to council officers what our top priorities are and what the things we really see as important for rapid action. So I'm going to try and share with you the list, and we can take some time for open discussion in a way it gives you a chance to talk about anything you want, because whatever you think is a priority becomes something to talk about. What I'd like to do then is we'll try and get some show of hands as to what you, those of us here tonight, think are the priorities from here. I should say that we're doing other work to assess residents' views. I've got an online survey going that's available through, I put it on Nextdoor and on Facebook currently, and we are going to try and get something through doors as well. It's not easy at the moment, but we're expecting something to start arriving quite soon so that all residents have a chance to comment. Now, share screen, and here it comes. So here's if you like, the short list, and what we'd like to hear from you is what out of this you think should be priorities. I should say from the online survey so far, the top three that seem to be the most popular are fly tipping and keeping the streets clean, tackling speeding, particularly with the issue of getting average speed cameras on the A34 Warsaw Road, and supporting those affected by the pandemic. Any of these issues could be important, and we'd like to hear your views tonight in terms of what you think is important. Now, running this meeting, I've got a slight problem because when I put the screen share up, I can't see you so well, and I can't see who's putting their hand up so well as I did previously. I'm going to try and keep my eye on you all. If you would like to speak, could you use a thumbs up, because I cannot see the participants list by having the screen share on. I'll keep the screen share on for a minute until you've sort of absorbed it. Would anybody like to speak to it, first of all? Anybody like to comment and support one item or not, or come up with something we haven't got on the list?
Yes, Councillor, certainly the stopping fly tipping and keeping streets clean. I mean, I don't know whether you've walked down Perry Barr Lake Lane along Regina Drive. Now, I know it's owned by One Stop Shopping, but that is an absolute disgrace, is it? Well, it's a polite word. I could say something else, but that's certainly my priority, is fly tipping and keeping the streets clean.
Yes, I've seen Regina Drive recently, and this is actually the one fly tipping grot spot identified in the 3Bs plan. Karen Davis.
Yeah, I actually spoke to a guy from the council today, because we've got an issue on the snick that goes by where the car wash is on Warsaw Road. So I reported that. It hasn't been cleaned up, but it is going to be cleaned up. But the guy is actually a local resident, and he mentioned Regina Drive. So, but from speaking to him, whether it be on or off the record, it's whether it be One Stop, whether it be BCC, whether it be Severn Trent. So it was an issue about whose responsibility it was.
Okay, let's talk more about Regina Drive, because it is in the 3Bs plan as well as an area for solution. The part of Regina Drive is owned by One Stop. Most of it is owned by unknown, as all these drives are. It's not public highway, but it's access for the residents of Teddington Grove mainly. But there's also Regina House down there, which is a lovely old building. And I spoke to the owners, who are very keen to make more of it and enhance it. So they're very upset too around the fly tipping down there. It's in the 3Bs plan, and we're trying to encourage, when Rebecca comes up with her Perry Barr master plan, to use Regina Drive to create that link between the new Perry Barr village and the Perry Hall Park. Because at the moment, you've got cycle routes that come through Perry Hall Park, and the cyclists have to find their way onto One Stop, go over the speed bumps of all the One Stop traffic to get onto the Warsaw Road. And there would be a lot of sense in adopting Regina Drive to make it the route for cyclists and pedestrian access, up to Perry Hall. So we're hoping, and we're going to come to that later, you can continue to lobby for that to happen. In the meantime, we've got 2 or 3 grot spots, of which Regina Drive definitely heads the list, but we've got 2 or 3 really chronic locations where there's consistent fly tipping. The council says it's going to up the ante on fly tipping in the coming year, and as your ward councillors, we should be holding them to that, and we should not be quiet about the grot spots that we have. John, were you indicating to speak again?
Yes,
let me
just a quick
scan
one.
everybody, see if anybody else is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a quickie, whilst we're talking about Regina, there is a gate at the bottom at the Perry Barr end to block it off. I know Regina House needs an access, but surely if they closed that gate and kept it locked, it would stop an awful lot of it. Then they might tip it all on the one-stop car park bit, and then they might do something about it.
That's one possible solution, and that was being explored many years ago when we had an environmental warden. The gate belongs to One Stop, and they were interested previously. At the moment, I think it's very difficult to get a response from them because they've clearly got their own troubles, like all retail centres, although they actually do seem to me to be very busy whenever I look over the fence at them.
Well, it was quiet this morning.
Yeah, but they've not been responsive recently to requests to help on this, but it's something we could probably take back to them to see if we can find a way of getting it closed. Like all these gating schemes, you close it, you have a shared lock, a shared number, residents can use it or not. And I know the residents would be very happy for that to happen.
Thank you, John.
Okay, I saw a thumb there. Tony Cottrell, aka Rita Cottrell. Tony.
You're still muted, Tony.
Hold on, I will get you.
Is that better?
You're unmuted now. Yeah.
You on the A34 Walsall Road regarding speed cameras and the like. What's going to be done about Arctic lorries doing U-turns coming out of town, doing a U-turn at Church Road to go straight down to one of the factories on the Walsall Road into town? It's happening quite a lot now.
It would be good to see that being enforced, wouldn't it?
Yeah, you know, it's becoming more regular with the work in Perry Barr because they can't get to the Aldridge Road so easy. That's
interesting. If you can get any information about how often it's happening, we can we need to get the police onto it because it's ultimately at the moment it's a police job to enforce no U-turn. So we need to get the police onto that.
Okay.
There could be further issues because we're getting a lorry ban on the housing estate behind you.
Yeah, well, I know. I hope you do because that's
long awaited. That's been long awaited.
It's going down Glendower.
It's really good news that that's happening.
The other thing is footpaths, pavements. The Walsall Road, where we are, the footpaths haven't been repaired for 40 odd years. They've dug them up, patched them, but it's never been properly done in 40 years, the length of time we've lived here.
Thanks, Tony. Yeah, I think the same applies to quite a lot of the pavements.
Yeah. Okay.
When there was a program of resurfacing, they concentrated on the highways rather than the pavements. And in fact, we had a problem with the former Amy contract, and they were sacked recently, as you know. That when they did do footpaths, they did the wrong ones.
Oh.
From our point of view, they did the wrong ones. They did all the ones by industrial sites, largely because they were damaged by heavy vehicles going over them, but they were not the ones used by pedestrians. They didn't assess them for footfall. They assessed them by the damage caused by the heavy lorries on industrial sites. So there were a few pavements, some roads like Baltimore Road, they did the industrial side and not the resident side. But let's note that and it is an option here on this list.
Yeah.
Choose
Okay.
it.
Hi, John. Can I have a reply to that? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. Okay. As you, John, you're aware that we had a walkabout with Kia and the engineer, a walkabout in regards to broken slabs, pavements, water leakages, and so forth. Maybe if I did the same again, and if you're happy, you can come along as well, and we can have a walk around and discuss the concerns that you have raised. What do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, leave it with me, and I'll sort this out. I'll CC you into the emails, and we'll arrange a mutual date and time, and we will do that.
Okay.
I
Thank
found Keir, the current people, is much more helpful with pavement repairs than Amy were.
Yes, they
I
are.
should say that. Yeah.
No, they are. They were extremely helpful when I came out. They came out. We had a good walkabout. They even went out last week in the bitter cold because I requested that there were so many defects and so many concerns. He even said I was cursing you. He was laughing. He goes, I was cursing you because you made me go out in the cold. Right, I've got no such thing. But he goes, no, but there was things that need to be done, and illegal parking on damaging grass verges. They took all of that in. So it was very productive. So I'm sure if anybody else wants me to arrange a walkabout with them, they can come and have a look, but it only has to be requested from a councillor, not from a resident, unfortunately. So what I can do is arrange it. We'll go for a walkabout, see what the defects are, get them to have a look, and get them to get this rectified. So that's an option. So anyone, just let me know. But I will sort bit on have a walk on Warsaw Road. We'll do that.
Thanks, Mariam. Val Edkins. Val. Val, you put your thumb up. Did you want to speak? Or was that just agreement? Okay, Karen, are you indicating?
Yeah, Church Road, that's all I can say.
The lorries parking there.
So if Mariam and Kia are willing to walk up and down Church Road, I'll be very willing to go with them.
On the same
That's
day,
fine,
so,
Karen.
didn't you? Have a look at that.
That's not a problem, Karen. Leave that with me.
I know this is a ongoing problem.
Yeah. As I says, let's sort this out. Let's have a walk. Leave that with me, Karen.
Yeah,
Thank
lovely.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I see Neil Da Costa indicating to speak. Neil is our council liaison officer in localities. Neil.
Thanks very much indeed, Councillor Hunt, and good evening, everybody. Just wanted to say it's a really good list that you've put together, but I just wanted to offer you some, ideas and guidance in terms of what other wards have done. So all of the priorities that you've identified, they're all relevant and very important, but some wards have kind of grouped them under themes. So it may be that you might want to consider grouping, for example, environment, community safety, etc. So that's just a bit of advice on my part. The other thing that I notice isn't down, and knowing Perry Barr really, really well, you might want to consider health and well-being. And the reason why I say that is because many groups are providing some absolutely fantastic support, particularly during the lockdown. And I know for a fact that lots of organisations are going to continue to do that. And in addition, I think community support and development, because you've got lots of groups across all of the sectors that are going to require support. We're in kind of emergency response at the moment. And as we move into recovery, hopefully the vaccination programme will have a positive impact as well as these lockdowns. But we're going to be moving into recovery soon. And a lot of your community groups and volunteers, etc., are going to need a lot of development and support opportunities as well. So the council can provide some, but there are other opportunities out there. So those are just kind of, you know, a few suggestions that I think may be useful.
Okay, well, we've got supporting those affected by the pandemic, which covers part of that, but it's really suggesting how that might be widened. And you're right, we could sort of keep everything here in a way and turn it into a plan. I did notice that wards are coming up with top priorities, which I think maybe we need to do. I think from what we're hearing today, I think we're getting an idea.
Yeah, Neil, brilliant to hear from you. It's been a long time.
Nice to see you, then hear from you, Councillor.
Honestly, thank you for raising these points. But at some point, we will need to have a meeting and a catch up and to see touch base and where we're at and where we need to be. So what you've raised is, I totally agree, health and well-being is totally important, but now we need to look at ways into tapping into that. So I'm happy to send some dates and having a catch up. So what I'll do is after this meeting, I'll drop you a line and we'll have a Zoom meeting and we'll have a catch up.
Fantastic. Look forward to it.
Thank you, Neil.
Becky Farr wants to come in. Becky?
Yeah, just to reiterate really the points that Neil has made about community and well-being. Also, I think it's worth considering education, training, skills, employment opportunities. I appreciate that there's a limit to how many things you can have in your ward plan, but I think it will be really important to try and align all the different pieces of work that we have going on across Perry Barr and maximise what we can get out of investments that others are making. And ensure, and we'll talk more about that under the master plan, but I think there's some real opportunities to capitalise on stuff that's already being done to make the most of Perry Barr.
Hello, Rebecca. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Councillor?
I know, I'm sorry I missed you on the last meeting. I do apologise, but I do need to have a catch up with you on a one-to-one basis.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay, I'll drop some dates because I know I did miss something that we needed to catch up on the master plan. Yeah. So I will give you.
Councillor Jan, I'm going to deter one-to-one conversations.
Oh, sorry.
We're going on to YouTube with this.
Rebecca, no, but what you've mentioned now, it's good, and it's good that everyone's putting their points across in what needs to be discussed and what needs to be highlighted. So thank you for your comments. Appreciate it.
Right. Any more comments?
There are quite a few on the chat box, John.
Ah, okay. Where's chat? Chat. Let me have a look at you. Yeah, and we can, having got a list of headings, we can group those easily into themes. What I'm trying to do is keep the ward plan simple, because we've got the neighbourhood plan as well, which is quite long, and we don't want too many overlapping documents. But if the consensus is that everything, if you like, is important and worth mentioning, plus the additional items which I've put on the list, then we can incorporate that by this means, can't we? And then I think we just need to then specify those things that we want immediate action on, which I think we've been hearing some of that tonight. Now, whether we need to move to voting or not, it's a view of the meeting, because it's a view of the meeting that everything on this list is important, and we should find a way to incorporate it into a ward plan as such. I'm going to take it off share now because I need to be able to see you. So I hope you can remember what to say. I can see you better now. Can you use your thumbs up if you agree to that proposition?
Sorry, John, can you repeat the proposition,
right,
please?
So you had that list. We added some items to it.
Yes.
And then the proposal is that we group those items, and that becomes an outline ward plan wrapped around the neighbourhood plan, so to speak, setting out what we want to do. and thumbs are going up, and keep your thumbs up if you can. I don't know if they come off automatically, and most people have put a thumb up on that. So as I said at the outset, certainly when you look at a list like that, for us as councillors, it's all important, and it's very hard to prioritise, but sometimes we have to prioritise. We have to say, this is a problem that needs sorting. Regina Drive needs sorting. And you know, I should be banging the drum about 1 or 2 things that need sorting before next year, if we're going to have lots of visitors in the area for the Commonwealth Games. Regina Drive among them. Okay, thumbs up. John.
No, it's all right, John.
Right. So, John, are you ready to...
No, it's all right. I thought you were still counting the thumbs and mine had disappeared, so I put another one on.
I've just seen thumbs from most people, so I think that's a plan. We adopt the whole list. I still think we're going to need to identify 1 or 2 things, that, as I said, that we need immediate action on. It's probably a bit there's quite a long list that to try and vote with about 10 of us on a list of about 12. It's probably not a great idea. As I said, we have got this online survey going, and we will be getting something through doors. Use that to indicate further. Maureen and myself, and with help from Neil, will go away and knock this into shape to create the kind of ward plan that the council wants. And then at the next time we have a ward forum, and probably in other community meetings, we'll bring it back and tell you what we've done and what's there. Good, great.
Fine.
Right, next item is the Perry Barr master plan, and Rebecca Farr is here. Rebecca is the person who's in charge of everything that's happening in almost everything, not everything, I suspect, in I call South Perry Barr, because they say Perry Barr, but as we discussed earlier, Perry Barr is a bit of a movable geography, and from the point of view of the ward, it's the southern tip of the ward, and as we heard, and as you'll show us, the area extends beyond our boundaries. So over to you, and explain what's going on.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Hunt. Thanks for inviting us. This is a really good opportunity for the team, and I'll introduce them with the rest of the team in a moment, to come and really kick off the work that we're doing on the Perry Barr master plan. And it's a really good opportunity as well for you guys to understand and to hear about the sort of early work that we've started to do, how you can get involved, and how we can really, as we've just said, create a framework for the future of Perry Barr that maximises the benefits for everyone, and also makes the most of the work that's already underway. I'm just going to share my screen, hopefully. You should be able to see a slide deck come up on screen now. So I'll just quickly reference the other members of the team that are here today. So we've got Arthur Smart, who's our urban design lead, and Alison Murray, who's our planning development lead, as well as Tess Randalls, who's our comms and engagement lead. We're going to share the presenting between us. So I'll kick off and then hand over to others. As I said, this is set to be an introductory meeting to explain what we're looking to do in future, more so than to talk about what the master plan will cover in great detail. A little bit of background. I mean, I don't need to tell you, there's lots already going on in Perry Barr. You know about the residential scheme. You've obviously seen the flyover works. You'll be aware of the station. So there's lots of stuff already going on. And what we really need to be ensuring is that these projects are not an end in themselves, but they open up future opportunities, and that we maximise those opportunities so that the benefits are felt by the people of Perry Barr and more widely. We also need to identify opportunities for new homes. The city has quite a significant housing target, and there are opportunities in the Perry Barr area, not necessarily, as Councillor Hunt said, within the ward boundaries, but in the area for additional house building. It's also really important that we align with other programmes. So we've already referred to the 3Bs neighbourhood plan. We've talked about some of the ward priorities, and I think there's a really good synergy between quite a number of those and what we're seeking to do with the master planning. And council-wide programmes or city-wide programmes like the Route to Zero programme, which seeks to reduce carbon use, the improvements to town centres that are planned across the whole city, and there's some really huge opportunities to improve Perry Barr Centre. I know Councillor Hunt, we've talked about that a little already. And equally aligning with what Hamira talked about green spaces and the real great opportunities for high quality green space and the health and well-being benefits of that we have in Perry Barr. What area are we talking about? Well, there's two boundaries shown on the plan here. The first, the red boundary, is the focus of our master plan. It goes from the stadium at the north down to Birchfield Island and a little south of that, so outside of Perry Barr ward and taking in just a little corner of Aston and Birchfield wards. It's got the two parks that make such a substantial contribution. It's got the town centre and the key transport links, and it also includes some of the existing housing schemes, although not all of the housing opportunities in the area. But there's also a wider area around this where the benefits of investment in the master plan area will be felt, and in fact where further investment can be planned for. Clearly, improvements to Perry Hall Park, for example, don't only benefit people within the master plan area. It's important that we monitor and understand the impact of proposals across a wider area. Within that area of influence, there are other housing opportunities, as I've said, but there are also other opportunities to improve links with education and training, to improve well-being, and to grow those benefits outside of the core area. That core area, I do have a more detailed plan or a more zoomed in plan, which I'm not going to talk to any detail now, but we can use for supporting Q&A further on in the discussion. I'm going to hand over to Arthur, I think, who's going to cover the next couple of slides. And Arthur, if you just want to shout when you want me to move on, I will. I'll take on that responsibility.
Thanks, Becky, and good evening, everyone. Thanks for having us here. So just like carrying on from what Becky's introduced, the purpose and the objectives of the work that we're going to carry out with BCC and with you through a series of other engagements is to refine the vision for Perry Barr. So taking a kind of holistic view at what we all imagine we want Perry Barr to be in the future. We're going to, as Becky has said, there's so much good work already happened and good things already in train. We want to make sure that this master plan consolidates that and integrates particularly things like the 3Bs plan, integrates that into the master plan, so we don't lose the momentum that's already been established and the kind of consensus around certain things that's already been agreed locally. So we want to make sure that's really embedded in the plan that we make. And so that clear and ambitious vision for the future. So in gathering together all those kind of component parts or bits and bits of planning work and bits of development work that have been happening, binding those together towards a vision that's really clear and people kind of buy into it. We want to make sure that vision and then the actions that come out of the vision and the kind of planet as a whole really sort of makes the most of the different opportunities to make growth really inclusive. So not seeing it as individual elements, but as how they all can add up to something that improves the area as a whole, but also gathers the most community benefit. And then we are on top of, so part of the master plan work will then be to identify projects and kind of packages of projects which have time-based, so a kind of series of a program of activities that we would call a delivery plan, which wraps those different actions and kind of projects into pieces that we can plan for over the kind of coming years, so a kind of time-based program. But I think just to kind of keep reiterating, we want to make sure that that is building on those things that are happening already, and that the master plan is a sort of a kind of gathering together of that, as much as laying over lots of new ideas, but bringing it together and making it actionable, so we really see the benefits happen, and we build on the many good things that are happening around the park already. Next slide, please, Becky.
There you go.
Thank you. So as Becky said, we're just really getting mobilised on and getting going on the project, but already through the conversations that we've been having, and Alison, who'll speak next, and colleagues have been working with Becky and BCC for a while, some emerging themes are already starting to come through, and we just want to mention some of those today and to take your views on that. So the first of those is to make sure that our work is really optimising what's planned for at the residential scheme, and making sure that the phases that follow what's on site currently really links into the wider area well, and provides the kind of benefit that it should do. So linking north to south, for example. We want to make sure that in the many things that are changing around the station and around Perry Barr and the kind of residential scheme, the one-stop, that what we create and plan for is a really distinctive and kind of adaptable local centre. So it's a real big opportunity, we think, for the work and the master plan to ensure that what comes forward is a kind of local centre that's well connected to everybody, that has kind of links to the blue and the green spaces around it, but also is kind of distinctive of its own. And I think that's a kind of important theme that we're going to be working through. I think as been said earlier in the meeting, and I think we really listened to the comments around Regina Drive and that important link west to east. Those green and blue routes, so the water and as much as the kind of green spaces, are going to be really important for the master plan. Listening to local people, but also kind of looking at the work that's already been established through the 3Bs is really important for us to make sure that master plan sort of really locks in the importance of those routes, but also the kind of network of open spaces. And by that, we mean everything from the kind of the parks, obviously the two big parks, but then the smaller pocket parks, the smaller spaces, the allotments, those kind of well-loved open spaces that are part of thinking about how we make Perry Barr kind of interconnect with green spaces in a really positive way in the future. And then we also will, as part of that delivery plan, be thinking about what we could try and achieve early in this effort. So we call those kind of quick wins or sort of early phases. So alongside the kind of longer term delivery projects, or kind of longer term, more kind of long lasting projects, we think that there's some really positive opportunities to do something early, and that might be about connecting to some of the temporary interventions that the Commonwealth Games will have, and seeing how they could be used and sort of have greater long-term benefit, but done quite quickly. And then kind of wrapping those things together, what the vision will try and explore is a kind of gathering together framework for us to sort of cross-cut through many of those different themes. And where we are thinking at the moment is around health and well-being, sustainability, but really kind of quite broad topics, but enough in there to gather together all the great work that's already happening and all the kind of potential, all the assets that Perry Barr already has into a really kind of consistent and clear plan. So yeah, lots to do, but really fantastic place, tremendous amount of activity already happening, and a really kind of an honour for us and Arup to be working on this with you. Thanks Becky. Hand over.
And then I think Alison is going to pick up the next couple of slides.
Thanks, Becky. Thanks, Arthur. And good evening, everyone. I'll just quickly run through this slide, which is our indicative programme for the work. As Arthur just mentioned, I've been working with Becky and the team for a little while, but we've just now mobilised the full master planning team. And we're working hard at the moment on developing those concepts and principles and ideas that Arthur started to introduce, but we've got much more work to do over the next month or so. And then we're aiming to have some focused, targeted engagement discussions later on in March, where we can begin to share some more advanced thinking around some of the emerging themes we've just covered, and indeed anything else that crops up over the next few weeks and comes out of our discussion today, which will then give us some further insights and a further steer to develop the master plan itself, which will be finalised and ready for public consultation engagement. We're aiming for probably June, end of May, early June, to actually have a relatively worked up document that then can be shared far more broadly with the wider community, and then leading on after that to working with the council to reflect on all of that feedback and finalise the documents.
Okay, thank you. Becky, more to say?
Yeah, Alison, did you want to pick up the engagement slide as well, or do you want me to carry on with that?
No, I'm quite happy to cover that, Becky. Yeah, sure, that's fine. So as I just mentioned, we're the first stage that we're planning in terms of engagement is to undertake some very focused thematic discussions with some stakeholder groups during March. These will be quite early conversations, early thinking in terms of our development, bringing together what's previously been done, and the insights that we've already had from talking to people and from the baseline work that we're doing at the moment. So initially we're going through a process working with the City Council to identify those key stakeholder groups that we think need to form part of that first stage. And we've outlined some here, so businesses, community groups, neighbourhood groups, interest groups. And I think when we move on to the Q&A, we're very interested to hear from you in terms of who those groups should be, and any suggestions both around who we speak to at that stage, and also any insights into how we should do that, taking into account in particular the environment that we're now in, making the normal public meetings, workshop events, in-person activities quite challenging. And we've got lots of ideas of how we could work around that, but we'd very much value your input today on that. And then we'll be moving forward to, as I mentioned on the slide previously, the more formal public engagement and consultation that you'll be familiar with from other plans, towards the end of May, early June, which will be, as I say, a much more formal opportunity for all to respond to a set of published proposals in a range of different formats. So once we've done that, once we've concluded that, we'll work very closely with yourselves, with the council, to go through and really consider all of that feedback, which will result in, as we said here, almost a you said we did feedback. So we will endeavour to make it really clear where that feedback has been received and how that's been responded to in the master plan.
Thanks, Alison. I think that's we didn't want to go on too much tonight, really. We wanted to give the opportunity for people to ask questions, for us to have a bit of discussion, and particularly for people to input in terms of which groups we should be talking to in the early phases of plan making. So I'll open it up, Councillor Hunt, through you to raise any questions.
I think Miriam Jan's waiting to come in. Miriam.
Thank you, Councillor Hunt. Yeah, thank you, Rebecca. I think it was it Arthur who spoke after yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, okay, yeah, thank you. There's some points that I would like to raise. So it says maximizing opportunities for communities. How would that happen? And what age group would that be happening? Or would it be across the board?
So I think at the moment we want to be guided by both yourselves, by other professionals who have expertise. So we've had conversations with Neil, for example. We're working with our education teams, proposals about how that will happen, and that's part of what we want to draw out of both the groups that we have with sort of internally within BCC and with strategic partners, and also the discussions that we want to have with other organisations. So if there's particular groups, Councillor Jan, who you think are well placed to assist us with that, I'd be really keen to talk to them.
Rebecca, yeah, I work, as you know, I work with a lot of young people, so I do have a big, massive groups. I mean, what would be the age criteria? Would it be, what's the minimum, 16 and above or 18 and above?
I think it'd be really useful to do some activity with young people. We probably just need to think about what that activity would look like and talk to you about perhaps maybe running more than one session for different age groups.
Yeah, that would work. That would work.
That would probably be my gut feeling. But perhaps if we take that offline and we'll have a conversation about how we can make that work. Very happy to either to work directly with some of the young people or to work with people like yourself who can give us some ideas and some steer about what some of the priorities might be.
Rebecca, I'll be more than happy to come on board, work alongside with you, and we can get these young people involved, because there's a lot going on, and even worse with the pandemic that's going on, it's even more of a need and a must. So I'm more than happy to have liaise with you on a one-to-one basis, and let's discuss moving this forward. But as I says, I can bring a lot of young people, a lot of the young people that are absolutely doing nothing because of what's going on. And so yeah, that'd be brilliant. So we'll discuss that on another time. No, but thank you for that. Also, there was another thing. I mean, with the new station of the design, I mean, a lot of people have complained about they're not happy with it, or they don't think it can work. I mean, I don't know. Is the design 100% foolproof? Is it gonna basically where it was designed to do it one way and then it can't? I mean, I don't know. I mean, there have been quite a few residents that are not happy.
So the station design has, as you know, evolved over quite a long time, and the work is being led by Transport for West Midlands rather than the City Council.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's partnership, so we have been working together with them on the station design. In terms of its function, the station design is, I mean, I'm not an expert in station design. I use stations, but I can't comment sort of from an expert point of view. But functionally, I'm told it does exactly what it needs to do. The spaces meet both the standards and the expectations of the industry. I know that there's been a lot of comment and concern, certainly about some of the first version of the design that was submitted for planning, and that there was a lot of work done to improve the design. And I think I sincerely hope that others would agree. The scheme that has been consented recently through planning is a significant improvement in terms of its visually on the earlier submission. In terms of the way it operates, it hasn't changed very much at all. Its spaces are still very similar. I'm sure there's some potential for different signage, for slight tweaks to public realm, etc. But the scheme does need to, it's the work's already started on site, and the scheme does need to progress. So there's not now an opportunity for significant change to that.
Thank you, Rebecca.
That's quite all right.
Thank you.
I get Val Adkins to ask your question. Val, are you willing to ask your question? You've just posted in chat. Otherwise, I'll read it out.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind, Councillor Hunt, because I can't screen share and see the chat at the same time. So if you could read it out.
I just worked out how to do it. So Val's asked, on the original plan for the village, many of the buildings had green roofs proposed.
Yeah.
Are these still going to be incorporated?
The intention is that, yes, there will be green roofs on a number of the buildings. I can't remember exactly which ones have green roofs and which ones don't, but you'll be aware that there are a number of buildings that are currently under construction, and there are a number of plots that are not being built out at the moment. So the plots that go along the railway and along sort of opposite One Stop are, so they're plots 6, 7, 8 and 9, but I appreciate that doesn't mean a great deal to other people. That's just how I see everything at the moment, based on plans. But those plots are under construction. The other plots, one of the things that we're doing and that Arthur mentioned as part of the master planning is making sure that what is proposed there is the right thing to build for Perry Barr. We have an opportunity in not having to have the residential scheme ready for the games to actually pause and regroup, and to ensure that, one, it's the right thing we're building for Perry Barr. Two, it's the right thing we're building in terms of the way the properties are then released to the market, and we're not left with large numbers of vacant properties, for example. We need to manage how they're occupied. But importantly, we do have, as I say, have the opportunity to review that, and that may well result in changes to design. What we wouldn't want to see is any reduction in the sustainability credentials of the scheme. So I hope that helps, Valerie, even though it's not perhaps a straightforward answer to your question.
Thank you. On chat, James has agreed with Mariam Jan's point about young people's voices, increasingly vital need, he says. And I'll try and lead that on to a sort of a broader question. And what you said, I very much welcome about taking the opportunity to reconsider some things. The picture we got in front of us is quite a pretty picture, and it's good to see all that greenery around the flats. I don't know whether we'll get those ivy-sided buildings or not, but at least it looks nice. But that 15-storey tower still causes me concern, and whether it's private or public apartments, I still think there's a huge risk of creating a crow's nest, of having one dominant tower block in Perry Barr. I just think there's huge risks around that, without being too fanciful about the risks, but the risks of organised crime in the area. It worries me quite a lot for the future. But the broader question, which I try and get people to participate in, is this idea of Perry Barr being an urban centre, because looking at this, we've got the village that went in at great speed for the Commonwealth Games. We've got on one side of the road, we've got the One Stop and shopping centre on the other side. The new station, I don't think shows on this, but it'll be there. And what is it that would make it an urban centre? And that's a question both for the planners and for residents here. What is it that will make it feel to you like something, is it fair to say similar to the city centre? Because that's asking quite a lot.
I think that's a really important question, Councillor Hunt, and it's something that we are really thinking about, and really welcome the input of people who live in and use the area. And as to whether it's something that has a similar feel to the city centre, I think that needs to come from what people want. yes, we'll want to have higher density, more efficient land use. That's I think the correct principle to take forward here. But what the centre what does a town centre have? What facilities does it need? What should it look like? What are the priorities? These are all things that we need input from you guys on. I think centres post-COVID are potentially very, very different than how we've traditionally thought of centres. Retail looks different. People's leisure time is spent differently. People are spending more time at home, and it's difficult to know how that, especially in terms of working from home, how that will play out in the longer term. How will some of the businesses and organisations that are located in Perry Barr want their employees to spend their time in future? I mean, will there be as many people coming to work in Perry Barr? I don't know, and I think these are all questions that we can work through in a whole host of different ways, and we need a whole host of different inputs to help answer them. But I think Perry Barr gives us a really great opportunity to actually do something that's not possible in other parts of the city, where we've got the scale of transformation already underway that we can start to build on.
Yeah, thank you, Rebecca. I mean, we do need to start thinking as a whole in creating employment opportunities in Perry Barr like they used to be before the university was knocked down. We need offices to be up and running, businesses to be maintaining. So we do need to look at opportunities like that for the area. So people, it will increase employment.
Yeah.
It will also increase a lot of opportunities in the area. So we do need to look at things like that. So as I said, on a whole, we're all happy to sit down and discuss this and look, and not only that, look at things, but to create the opportunities for the individuals and the people. But that means we need space and opportunities like offices and so forth in order for businesses to even consider bringing their companies into the area. So we need to look at it on a bigger scale. So I'm happy, as I says, we're all willing to sit down, and we'll have another ward forum. We'll have other meetings on an individual basis. But as I says, we're all happy to look at that and look for opportunities to increase employment in Perry Barr, which is greatly needed.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
No,
James
thank you,
Hinton.
Rebecca.
Thanks. I've got James Hinton waiting to come in. James.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Hunt. Thank you everybody for the opportunity to speak. I'm going to preface this by basically just mentioning, I think several of the themes that are under consideration here are clearly going to be welcomed. I think most voices around this forum and most of the others that we're all linked into would welcome a lot of the themes that are under consideration here. I also want to echo again Councillor Jan's comments just now about skills and jobs and employment, particularly with the university having left that site. That was a massive centre of opportunity for a big swathe of North Birmingham, frankly, as well as Perry Barr itself. So that has left a real void, and it's very difficult to see how that can be filled. That's quite a challenge. But I think this is where I want to pick up on something which doesn't really help you, Becky, unfortunately, with the point which, we're trying to get to here. But this idea around South Perry Barr and the several projects which are underway at the moment, a lot of this is taking place on, let's face it, it's redevelopment land. It's the old university site, a couple of industrial areas and such like. So by definition, it's not previously been integrated into the surrounding communities in the way that other areas may have been. There's quite a few decisions, and forgive me for putting this bluntly, but there have been a few decisions which have been against community views. So there is a bit of a feeling among people across the patch that the area has been cut off, things are done to the community rather than having views listened to. And I know that may feel unfair from a council officer's perspective, but that's basically the way that a lot of residents have expressed their feelings lately. But I think this is again coming up to this crucial point that this area is the link between several different communities.
Yeah.
It's the link between the edge of the inner city and the start of the suburbs. It's also a crossroads with effectively each of those quadrants forming different communities as well. The infrastructure that we have in this area separates people rather than bringing them together. We've got railways, we've got canals, we've got the motorway, we've got the A34, and all the works that are going on there as well. So bringing these communities together and being able to consider all of those voices is a massive challenge. And I think, again, I'm going to pick up on one of Councillor Jan's points earlier on around the importance of considering all voices, younger voices, voices from across different communities that make up our location, and making it clear that if this is genuinely the case, and I believe it is, that there are not prescribed solutions already that have been made and cast in advance, but that people's voices will be listened to from all of those communities, all of those ages. It's a really vital challenge to meet, and I wish you the best of luck. And I think this group will support you as much as we can to help achieve that objective. So, as I say, that wasn't particularly constructive in terms of getting us to move the issue on. I think within that, some of those answers around education skills, particularly in the void that the university left behind, for me is one of the burning topics which we really must address. And then maybe the other one is actually looking at the fact that this area is so complex and feels so, at the moment, feels quite disconnected, and how that could perhaps be a solution to bring, to bridge these communities and put it back together.
Thanks, James. As you say, really useful observations, and I've scribbled down a lot of notes there in terms of what you've said. I think there's some really key points there. Definitely hearing from both yourself, Councillor Jan, and also perhaps the points that Neil and I made earlier with the ward plan, that education, employment are really important elements. I think you're absolutely right that it is a complex area, and that possibly makes the question about what an urban centre is for Perry Barr even more difficult, because it doesn't have one identity or one community to serve. It's actually got a lot of things to do. So I think they're really useful observations. I don't know if any of my colleagues want to come in and comment on any of those points as well.
Can I follow through first of all? Mm-hmm. Because firstly, just there's a specific comment in chat which I'll share from Wendy, but then just to broaden it, because I think that it then raises some of the broader issues in terms of doing this. So the question from Wendy is, will the people living on the properties on Harrier Way, that's to the north of the village, isn't it, be made aware of the noise created by the Speedway meetings? And that's pointing out there's been conflict in the past between the Speedway and some local residents and the university.
Sorry, Councillor Hunt, you've gone really quiet.
Lean into the screen. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
And the university and the Speedway didn't get on very well. But then there's a broader question, which is that you're looking at this picture. I mean, there is an urban centre here, which is One Stop, and it is actually quite a lively urban centre. You know, people go there, they shop, they use the cafes and restaurants and stuff. And there's a lot of people hanging around, and One Stop lays on a few street vendors and stuff like that. There's other activities. It's not bad. It's not bad, and it's still quite busy at the moment. And I remember originally when the City University was moving out, a lot of the talk was around how the one-stop concept would be extended. Now, I'm not sure, but I think you've still got in mind that some of these blocks would have ground floor retail and other stuff on them. The question is whether it's feasible even to have that space to be a place where people come, like a city centre with bars and restaurants and a bit of entertainment, or whether there's too much conflict with the residential areas for that to be potentially successful. Okay,
I'll just very quickly answer Wendy's question first about the Speedway noise. Yes, people would be aware of it. It's obviously not something we're going to hide. And that it's something that was considered when the planning consent was granted. So our environmental health teams will have or did consider the noise implications when the planning consent was granted. I think your observation, Councillor Hunt, about the importance of one stop is absolutely correct. And we've been having some really positive conversations with the owners of One Stop about their visions for the future and about how we can ensure that that forms part of a revitalised town centre. I think there's some really exciting opportunities there over a period of time to do something that might look quite different and that could help integrate One Stop more so with the rest of the area. In terms of the retail uses within the residential scheme, there's not a huge amount. It's very much intended in the way it's designed to be ancillary to the residential use. So corner shops or small cafes or fairly small floor plate retail. That said, the opportunity we have to redesign some of those plots gives us the opportunity to stop and think about whether that is exactly the right thing to be doing, or whether potentially in certain parts of the site there are opportunities to do something that looks slightly different. So I think there's still an opportunity there, and we can influence that.
That triangle. I mean, I still think I think if you then take that triangle and start to make it more of the urban centre and less residential, or make it not residential and something else, then regret removing the flyover, because that potentially did what you get with the mailbox development in town, where the mailbox flows seamlessly under the A38 into the area around East Street. And getting that seamless flow across that road is going to be really difficult now. Well, there you are. It's done. It's gone.
Yeah, I think the triangle site, as you say, is especially important, and what happens with that has the potential to really change what the feel in the area is.
I suspect because the sales value for residential, because the plan was to sell it, wasn't it? And I suspect the sales value for that is not looking very good at the moment. So it does create opportunities to think anew and afresh, and I'm glad you are. Are there any other indications to speak? Val's just mentioned the speedways only once a week. Presumably they'll have triple glazing on these properties, will they, Becky? I mean, it's not going to be quite like it was before.
I know that there will have been conditions relating to noise insulation. I off the top of my head, I don't know what those are, but they will have had to meet certain standards. So.
Right, I can't see anybody else indicating to speak. Anybody else want to speak on this? Well, hopefully that's been interesting to everybody. From what I know, the people here, I think most of you are towards the southern end of Barry Barr anyway, so it will be interesting. And thank you very much, Becky and team, for that presentation. And we look forward to seeing what you come up with. Don't do anything that shocks us too much, please.
We'll try not to.
We've had enough of that. We've had enough of that.
Thank you. Speak to you all soon.
Yeah. Thanks very much for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us, and hopefully what we'll be able to show you and work with you on will be something that will excite you rather than shock you.
Right. Item 6 is matters of local concern. When we meet in person in the hall, we always try and get people to notify us in advance of this one, but I wasn't sure how we could do that apart from using chat. We've covered quite a lot of stuff already tonight. I see John Moore's hand is already up on this, however. So we've got 20 minutes, so we can take a couple of items. John, yours.
Yeah, just a quick one, John. Reverting back to the MOT station on Tower Hill, I understand that when planning permission was granted, there were, limited number of MOTs and no repairs.
Yeah.
Why is it that they've got a service bay in the garage they've built, if they're just doing MOTs, they can't be doing servicing. So surely that's a breach of planning regulations before they've opened.
I thought the signage indicated that too.
Can I say something, John?
Yeah, I was going to
Yep.
say this is something that you took a keen interest in. So yeah, far away.
Yeah. Yeah, good point. I think that's worth raising with planning, because if they're doing something that they weren't supposed to do and they were only given planning in regards to an X amount of vehicles per day, per week. So if they're changing their restrictions, changing what they're supposed to be doing, you know what, it's worth putting a complaint in. So do us a favor, John, drop me a line, just let me know what's going on.
All right.
And I will get in contact with the relevant department and get this investigated.
Okay,
That's all.
thanks, Mariam.
Not a
Martin.
problem, John. Anytime. Just keep us updated with that. And yeah, as I says, I have been trying to not have that place open, but unfortunately, we were overruled with the Labour Party when we went to the planning and try to stop this from happening. But
Yeah.
Labour Party overruled us overall.
It's like, yeah, they did with the flyover.
All we're going to do is we're going to monitor them, we're going to watch them, and then we'll put complaints in and raise concerns. And that's what we can do at the moment. And then hopefully in the near future, possibly get it shut down.
Thank you, Mariam.
Not a problem,
It
John.
seemed to
Thank
indicate
you.
general servicing. I wondered if they were doing that on site or not, but maybe somebody can investigate.
No, but as long as John, drop me an email, explain to me what's going on, and then leave it with me, and I will deal with this accordingly.
Yeah, I'm sure I've got a record of the conditions that the planning was granted on, so I'll have to dig it out.
Thank you, John.
John, if you could, and Mario, I'm happy to pick this up with our planning enforcement team. If you want to send me the address, or if you have the planning application number, because I don't feel that I know it. I know the area well enough to guess. If you could send me that, I'll then dig out the conditions and I'll raise with enforcement.
Okay, thanks very much, Becky.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Email in here as well.
Raise a
Yes,
couple of
please.
things now, because while you're still here, Becky,
Yeah.
let me just raise it. I think the formal consultation, the formal final consultation on 3Bs after many years of repeated consultation just ended last week.
Yeah.
And therefore it should be heading up. So I just wanted to know that's happening.
Sorry, you faded out there. I do have a little bit of an update, Councillor Hunt. So we have had, I believe, 20 responses to the formal consultation. I've not reviewed them yet. Alice is pulling them all together so we can start to go through them properly. She's, I believe, in regular contact with, it's Helen, isn't it? Your planning advisor with regard to appointing an inspector. Sorry, I couldn't think of the word for them then. Appointing an inspector, and we have had an initial conversation with the elections team as well, with regard to timing and practicalities around the referendum. So lots going on, keeping things moving.
Probably need to have a chat about it offline as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Second thing I just want to raise with the meeting is just to let you know about the Great Barr Volunteers project, which still exists. We've not been able to get anything through doors this year as councillors or as any reason, for a whole load of reasons, of which lockdown is the top of the list, but it's not the only reason why we struggled to get anything through doors. But I'm expecting stuff to start going through doors next week. And we will be promoting the volunteering scheme again. People are working on it. It's less organised than it was last year, and the range of requests we've had for help, partly because we haven't publicised it to the same extent as last year, but also because I think people's needs are different this year from last year, have varied very differently. And the one thing that's come up a lot this year has been access to technology for families with children who are not in school. And there's been, we've through the volunteering scheme, we've managed to help a number of families who didn't have access to technology, and we're hoping to help more. I'm telling you this, we're not promoting it heavily at the moment because we could get overwhelmed both with donations of equipment, which would need to be sorted, and with requests for equipment, and we haven't got the capacity to do it at the moment. Neil DaCosta knows that we're trying to build that capacity, and we're looking for support to do that, and that the Freebies Planning Forum is depending whether we can get oh, he's just said it's been approved. So there's two people here who we're going to ask to be on an interview panel. We're going to find a part-time administrator to run Freebies and to run the volunteering project, because we have struggled with administrative things in the last 6 months, and the complexity of some of the volunteering stuff now is beyond me, who's had to do quite a lot of it, and beyond some of our volunteers. So we have got a grant to appoint a part-time administrator. The news is just in.
Right.
And I'm going to ask the vice chair of the Freebies and the membership secretary of the Freebies, who happen to be present. I'm going to send you an email, but I hope you'll join me on a recruitment panel, and we can start to advertise and make an appointment. So the point is that there are people available to help if you know of anybody who needs help, and there's a lot of enabliness been going on and people helping each other during the pandemic, and there's a lot of terrific, loving things going on in the community. But if you know anybody who's isolated or struggling or whatever, we can find people who can help, and we do have a significant list of volunteers who are keen to help, and some of them are making regular weekly phone calls to a number of elderly people, making sure they're okay. And so there you are, breaking news in the chat section.
Well done.
Good, thank you, Neil. Right, anything else of matters of local concern? No, then we can close the meeting. We will try and have another ward forum, I would say a couple of months. Well, would that be? April's not a good time because of elections going on, so maybe we'll try for May, and we'll try and keep you updated as people who are interested in the community through whatever routes are available as to developments. Karen Davis.
Yeah, Karen Davis here. John, I think it's all taken us over whatever, but we have a census, don't we, in March? How is that going to happen?
I don't know a great deal. Neil, do you know anything about that? The conduct of the census?
Yes, or you're quite right, Karen. Thanks for raising that. There is some information that I can send out to you, because the council is kind of putting out quite a lot of information to local residents and what have you. So I've got a briefing. So what I'll do is send it to the ward councillors, and we'll get it out to you.
Yeah, so cascade it the information down. Yeah, because I'm going to do it anyway. So
fantastic, and it does have details of if you want to get involved, how to do that as well. So I'll send that.
Thank you.
All right, Karen, you're welcome.
This, again, it's one of those things that bloody hell, this is happening.
Good. Anything else? Otherwise, I will say good night. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Good night. Thank
Good
you,
night,
everyone.
John. Thank you.
Good night.
Again soon in one place or another.
Good night, all. Fantastic meeting. Speak soon. Bye-bye for now.
Bye.
Bye all. Thank you.
Bye.